the development here next door. This is our regular monthly board meeting. If you're here for the monthly board meeting, and you're having the outreach planning next door on the project.
I'd like to sit here.
Great. All right.
We'd love it.
Ryan Allen.
Here.
Alfredo.
Here yet.
Hey, Mitch, how are you?
That's a pretty good thing, man.
Not in that bag, probably.
Bill Hopkins.
Here,
He's here.
grab a piece of paper.
It's too far. Wade.
Here.
Oscar.
Here.
Raheem. Ralph.
Here.
Ralph, in your red shirt. Amanda. Dave.
Yeah.
Ray is here. Skylar.
Here.
Here. Jan is here. Andreas.
Here.
Joe Bibby.
Right here.
Donna Zero. Rob.
Yes.
Sid. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 we have board. Just so everybody, I'll make this announcement a few times. If you're here for the monthly board meeting, this is the room. The room next door is the outreach planning for the complex. That's the Woodley.
Thank you.
Everybody needs to see that Mr. Englander has showed up this evening.
Anyway, we have the great honor to have our city council person here that's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So,
Thank you very much. Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you, Mitch. Folks who just walked in,
How cozy,
if you're here for the board meeting,
Yes, Mr.
it's here.
Fisk.
If you're here for the outreach against the project, it's right next door. Okay? All right. You know what? We love having you here, Bill. We put Mr. Englander over the microphone.
Is he up next?
He's up. Sure. I will take anything out for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's quite the microphone. I actually just wanted to come by and wish you all a Happy New Year, and thank you very much for your service. Truly, truly appreciate it. I know you've got a big agenda before you, but I just wanted to come by and say thank you. You are, and I think you all know this, my neighborhood council, and I'm walking distance from here, so I always like to stop by and just say thank you very much for everything. I know you work very closely with our office and the relationships, each and every one of you that we have, both in all the things we're doing with our neighborhood councils, but outside of that. You guys do so much individually and collectively, and we really appreciate it. So I wanted to stop by and just say, hey, if there's anything you wanted to ask me, I know I'm not on the agenda, but I'm here. And so if there's anything you want to ask me, you know I've always had an AMA attitude. Ask me anything. I mean, there's just no question that I won't answer, as we well know, and that gets me in a lot of trouble sometimes. So, but really, I hope your holidays were happy and safe. It looks like everybody's healthy, and we're kicking off the new year. There's a huge agenda. There's a lot, obviously, going on in the city. Without giving you the update of all of that, because I know you guys follow everything. You read every newspaper cover to cover, and you really are involved so much that I don't have to go through all the highlights and issues and concerns, suggestions, ideas, some of the things we're taking on beginning of the new year. So just open it up to anything you guys, if you have any questions for me while I'm here, and just wanted to stop by again and say thank you.
Folks, any questions for our council person?
Oh, shy away.
Have you taken a look at that complex?
I have.
What's your view on
It's big.
Are there 3 letters in front of that, T0 and T-O-O?
So it's too big. Yeah, no question. So, let me just put all the rumors to bed, because there's been a lot that has been said. In fact, there's been a lot that has been said by me that I've never said, which is always good. Because I read it and go, oh, really? I didn't know I had a conversation with that person. I've never taken a position of support on this project at all. It's absolutely false. I've never, and I have not been meeting with the applicant to push the project forward. And just the contrary. In fact, I was the one that worked very, very hard. It was not easy to get the meeting moved out of the request from you guys to do that because we needed some more time. Now, having said that, I absolutely have not ever said I support this. In fact, just the opposite. I think it is way too big. It's too massive. I realize, and we all understand land use here, and what by right means and what they can and can't do, and the idea that if they put all 3 parcels together, they get this huge project. And if they don't, they still get this huge project because they can build them individually. And in fact, because of your help and many of the ones in this room that helped push the community plan forward, it would have been about twice the size, and could have been that it is being proposed now. So I'm not for the project at all. I think it's way too big. I think there needs to be some work to see what they can do and listen to the community. And that's what I hope to do, is be a conduit, as I always have. Just so you know, since I've been in office, there's not one single development project that has come through my office without first sending it to the neighborhood councils, number 1. And I've never gone against the neighborhood council since I've been in office on any single land use development project in this district. It's 100% track record, and I hope to keep it that way. So I'll work closely with you guys. I know the concerns. I know the ingress and egress issues. Have I been to the site? Yeah, I've been to the site. I know the site well, and been there many times, and not as part of this application. I was there before when there was a DMV. I was there getting my daughter her first driver's license at that DMV because it was only open for new drivers. In fact, she was one of the first to go in and get her driver's license at that site. I've been to the Taco Bell. I mean, I know about the neighborhood council office that was there. I helped negotiate the lease to get an office because you guys needed an office at the time, didn't have one. And then had a lot of trouble with the city trying to navigate that. And so I jumped in again and got it done. So yeah, I know the site well, willing to work with you guys, and thanks for asking the questions. Well, really good. Good to see you. I'm going to defer to the chair.
So when I was looking at the project, one of the things that I found out was that the MTA doesn't have any sort of public transportation development happening in Granada Hills at all for the next 40 years or so. Closest they have is maybe a busway going to San Fernando. Do you see that changing at all in the future?
When you were looking at that project, or just in general?
Just in general.
In terms of the MTA. I mean, no, there's actually a lot with Metro and the MTA that's happening. We've been working very, very closely, in fact, with CSUN on the drop-off, and particularly as the buses don't make the right to go to the new busway that we were able to get, and expanding the dash as well from the Orange Line. We're also looking at putting in light rail along the Orange Line, so that will complement a lot of what the MTA is doing. And I think I will see a lot of projects coming actually in North Valley. And let's not forget the local return money that we'll be getting from mass transit as well. And not just transportation, we're talking about new rapid bus. Now, the interesting thing is, for those of you that have followed the conversation of the rapid bus on Reseda Boulevard, it's an interesting one because it actually hasn't been studied or vetted, but it's sort of put in the language of the new Measure M. But yet, it has not been studied whether we would actually take a lane and dedicate a lane for a rapid bus. So that's a discussion I think we're all going to have. So, no, I think that we'll definitely get a lot of benefit out of major projects.
Mr. Kuzmin.
Mr. Englander, thank you for coming tonight.
Mr. Englander, thank you for coming tonight. It's good to see you. As you're aware, I'm a real estate broker, and I recently attended a housing forum. And at that housing forum, it was represented that we are 60,000 units short in the city of Los Angeles. And I know that the city council is looking at our housing shortage in our community. And part of what I'm seeing is an increase in our people without addresses, meaning the homeless people in our community, due to the fact that we don't have affordable housing in here in the North Valley in any kind of way, shape, or form that will help alleviate the housing crunch, because right now we've got a supply and demand problem and the prices are skyrocketing, and the people that are on disability or Social Security can't afford to get even a studio apartment here in the North Valley. So in light of that, I see this project as a good thing because it makes a dent in some of that 60,000. So in light of that, I mean, how does this relate to the city's objective to reduce the problem of the lack of housing in Los Angeles?
So that's an issue, and it's incredibly complex, obviously, and it's nothing that I'm going to be able to go through in a minute or two, and I think everybody certainly has an opinion of that. Now, having said that, we've got 25,000 people living on the street here in Los Angeles alone, roughly 68,000 in the county. These are men, women, and children and veterans that are living on our street, that are living under freeways, that are living in campers, and those are just the ones we know of, roughly 25,000. We know we need housing. We know the 60,000 number is probably very, very short, quite frankly, and we won't get there alone. In having said that, I don't believe that that's pushing the envelope and trying to get more density in things built. I really don't. And in fact, it's just the opposite, which is probably why we have that housing shortage and market rate conditions like we do, and because there's the shortage and it's supply and demand. So we need a different mix of different types of housing. We've got to think differently, and we've got to put it along transit corridors and where it makes sense, where people can get to and from work and do those evaluations. In fact, Metro's studied all of the transit lines where we can look at where density would make sense. I mean, putting those kind of units there doesn't make sense. There's no real mass transit to get places. And so we've got to look and develop things from a different perspective and do it smart. And having said that, though, it's not just about housing, quite frankly. It's also about the wraparound services, because a lot of people that are living on the street, you cannot talk about in a humane way without bringing it up in the same breath of the fact that many folks out there are alcoholics and drug addicts and need wraparound services. They need help. Mental health, serious mental health issues. We need to have a housing first model, but you also can't expect to give somebody a set of keys and a bed and a blanket and expect that they're going to be okay. It's not enough. And so the partnerships, we finally have a plan that we've worked on for 1.5 years with the county that we just signed. I implore you guys to all read it. And one last thing on that. If you haven't done so yet, just by a show of hands, who here has been to the Northridge San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission? By a show of hands, who's been to the new San Fernando Valley Rescue Mission in Northridge? I would ask this, in the next 6-8 months, I'm going to ask you to do something. Set up one of your neighborhood council meetings there.
Can't do it.
Why?
It has to be within our borders.
Oh, you have to do an off-site tour. Have a meeting there, do an off-site tour. It doesn't have to be agendized, Brown.
We can only do 6 people at a time.
I'll invite you guys. We've given a lot of tours. In fact, they give us our own set of keys, which is amazing. This place, we're no longer calling it a homeless shelter. It's a family success center. We've taken families off the street by the dozens. Our youngest tenant right now, she's 4 months old. You've got to see this place. It is incredible. And once you see it, and you start thinking about, would a place like this make sense somewhere in Granada? The answer is yes. Would it make sense in Chatsworth? Yes. Does it make sense in Northridge? But you got to see it. And so I'm not trying to push, we need more density in housing and homeless housing and transitional housing and success centers. What I'm trying to do is to get people out there and open their eyes and see what the opportunities are and say, let's work together. Does this make sense? Is there a place this might make sense? It's 90 beds. It's not 440, it's 90 beds. But go take a look at it. It was designed, by the way, by HGTV. Their extreme makeover team came in and designed it for us. You think you walk into a 3, 4, 5-star hotel. I mean, it's spectacular. Posturpedic beds, I mean, the whole thing is just phenomenal. and you get to meet the families, more importantly. And so I want to ask you to, just in the next 6 months, please, I'll take you out there personally. I'll take all of you together as a trip, and it'll be, it won't be your meeting, it'll be mine, so you can all come. It'll be wonderful for you. And but that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we're all looking at that, because we know what happens when we don't do that. Is the homeless population goes up, and we start getting these transitional group homes that I'm not even going to talk about right now, because that'll be a whole other conversation. And so we've got to do something smart. So thank you for that.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Oh, Jim.
Well, thank you for coming here. It's a big issue, and we're honored that you're here and you're actually taking a really personal concern in this. My question is, I've been talking to other planners and other city people in other cities, and they said that you have the right from the beginning, if it's way over, to just not count it. Where is that threshold level where you bring it to the neighborhood council? Because this has gotten a lot of people doing a lot of work that I don't think they have to. And I think you should have just said no at the beginning until they come back with something reasonable, which is about less than half, maybe even a third of the size according to what they have.
So let me walk you through that real quick. It's a great question, Jim. Thanks for that. Let me tell you how about my internal process works. First of all, I believe in due process for anybody, for anything. It's not up to me to say yes or no to a project right when they knock on our door. The first thing that I say, in fact, I oftentimes, probably 90% of the time, never have a conversation, including this applicant, never had a conversation with them before they came to you guys. I tell them, and my office will tell them, you need to go to the neighborhood council first. You need to go to the stakeholders, the HOAs, but particularly if there's a neighborhood council in the area, you need to go meet with them. You have to go through the process. And I believe in due process. If they file an application, they're entitled to go through a process. It's almost either me saying yes to them, I like the project, go meet with the neighborhood council. That's a de facto approval. I would never do that. Same thing on the flip side of saying, there's no way we're going to go for this. In fact, we just broke ground on a 770 unit complex that was not only supported by the neighborhood council, there wasn't one person opposed to it in Chatsworth. 700, now I told them no, don't even think about it. Not only did the neighborhood council support it, they were all there to break the ground on it. And it's the first of its kind in this kind of project. It's going to be over on Winnetka, right across the street, the new MGA site, which has been all over the newspapers as well. It's really exciting. So you never know. But what I know is that, particularly in this area, we have a community plan, that this community got together and had dozens and dozens, I'm not exaggerating, dozens and dozens and dozens of outreach with stakeholders and conversations and public hearings and meetings, and it took 7, 8 years to get that done. Way overdue. And we got it done. And this site was in there. And this site actually downzoned it to just about what they're coming in with now, which I still think is too big, no question. Now, having said that, I still believe in a process. And the process is you can come to my office and say, hey, do you guys support it? And we'll look at it and say, if it's way outside of the community plan, particularly when we just approved a community plan, the first in CD12 in many, many, many years, and this site was identified in there, who am I to say, no, you need to go to the stakeholders and run it by them. We've gotten the input, and it's part of the process. But I don't even have a vote in it. And that's what I think what most people are missing on this. I don't have a vote. This is not before me. I carry as much to the table and as much water, believe it or not, as each one of you, both collectively and independently on this neighborhood council. This is not before me. So with that, I'm trying to bring everybody together. As you're all aware, I called for a meeting of some of the key stakeholders. I want to meet with you all, and I want to make sure that, and I told the developer, look, everybody's saying this is way too big. Scale it. You've got to scale this thing to fit the community. So I'm very interested to see if they come back with something different. And if they do, what that is. But I do believe in the process. I think it would be disingenuous of me to prejudge anything without first coming to you guys. And I think that'd be wrong. And so I stick to that.
Okay, my question is, as Kyle said, Metro doesn't have anything in the plan for the North Valley in our area. We have all the power lines running down next to the freeway. They can put bus lanes next to the power lines, okay? And we could put green space under those power lines, Parsons out. And nobody's ever been able to, DWP thinks they own that property.
They own a lot of it, yes. So having said that, without, again, going back and forth for an hour discussion on transportation.
I just was throwing that out as an idea.
I think there are a lot of ideas that we need to get together to collaborate on often and regularly. I do have the CD12 Neighborhood Council forum that we get together every couple of months. We bring representatives from every single neighborhood council. By the way, we are still the only city council office that does that. There's no other council office that does that. Many council offices don't even send a representative to every meeting. We try to be there and participate in just about everything we can, as you well know. So my office is always open. My door is always open for each and every one of you. I know I see many of you all the time in various community meetings, so I really appreciate that. But that's where these ideas need to come from, the community. What do you guys want to see? There's dollars out there, as we well know, and there's projects that aren't funded. There's also projects, by the way, and this is something important to note, that while you might see a project with Metro or something that just passed on the bond, and maybe it even goes all the way out to the San Gabriel Valley, and they say, well, that project's already funded, so we can't touch those dollars. Many times those things never come through fruition, and you can repurpose and reprogram those dollars. Oftentimes, that's done. So it's not even a matter of looking for new money sometimes, it's a matter of looking, and the projects aren't done because the community goes ballistic, and they don't want either that high-speed something coming through their neighborhood, or they don't want that dual track something coming through their neighborhood, or they don't. We've heard them all. We have them here, yet alone all the other projects. There are many projects that won't be funded, and the money's there. Make no mistake. And they still got to go through all the environmental studies. There's a lot of work before them and before Metro. So there's dollars to do it. If the project makes sense, I will stand up and fight for it and bring together a coalition of support. Because as you know, the LA City Council doesn't have that kind of control of the funds. But we've got a state senator who's very interested in fighting for dollars for the North Valley. We've got congressional representatives that also care and want those dollars spent here. So, and I've got great relationships with all of them. So I think, if we come up and identify things that make sense, I'm more than willing to stick my neck out and fight for them. Appreciate it. So again, just want to stop by and say hi and thank you again. And
We love seeing you. It just does a great job for us.
Yes.
Your entire office is wonderful. And if you have 2 minutes or 3 minutes, would you stop by next door?
sure, I'll stop by.
Say hi.
I think my name's on the flyer. I'll stop by. I'll help make some signs.
It's a voluntary pitch.
It's all good. It's all good.
Is there anything we can do for you?
Yeah, here's what you can do, quite frankly. This is, and I mean it. Come out with me to the shelter. For all of you that get our newsletter, who here gets the newsletter every Friday? There are things going on that we need your help with. I mean, we put it out there constantly to say, here are things we're working on, here are other partnerships. Contact us, let us know how we can support you as well. A lot of the initiatives and things that you guys are working on. The other idea is the calibration and the collaboration with the other neighborhood councils. I'm a strong proponent of that, as you all know. So anything we can do to partner with, the Disaster Preparedness Fair was a great, it's a great annual visual of the partnerships that we can do. There's so many things we can do together, so I really appreciate it. Ralph. Always close it out with Ralph. Yes.
The demonstration or the police chaplain in this area retired, and he had many good meetings with the faith-based
Yes.
people in the area, kept them on the date and stuff. And we haven't had that. We sort of missed that. People asking me, what are we doing at the road?
Great. So one of the things we're starting this year, thanks for leading the softball, we're starting a faith-based roundtable that we're going to have regularly out of the CD12 office. So we're going to bring all the clergy together. And, what we were doing in the last several years is every quarter we'd have a faith-based discussion and roundtable. We're actually going to have a working group and bring in LAPD and fire to talk about a lot of the things we're working on. It has to deal with homelessness. It has to do with food insecurity. It has to do with, and believe it or not, these are issues that are impacting Granada Hills and Northridge. It has to do with crime going up. There's no one better to work with than the faith-based organizations, particularly here. So we're bringing them together. So we're starting that this year. And that's a new program that we've already put everything together. A few years ago, you may know, we brought all the schools together. We started the Principals Roundtable. So we have every single principal from every single school come and participate. And then from that, we launched programs like Making Movies That Matter, where we had 1,100 students show up at the Performing Arts Center and got Apple involved, and it's just taken off. We're doing that again. So a lot of new programs coming this year, and that's going to be one of them. And because we lost our chaplain, we saw a need for that as well. So thanks for that, Robert.
When are we going to get the new one?
That's up to LAPD. I wish I had that. On that note, we also had a Devonshire officer lost her life from a tragic car accident the other night. And so take a minute, and if you can, adjourn and remember it. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me speak with you and come by. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And Mitch, we all realize that you probably leave here at 6 a.m. to go to work at council, and you're still out here tonight, so we really do appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, have a good night. I'll go next time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you are here for the outreach against the proposed development, they're meeting next door, okay? So, Jess, do you have anything? Do you want to actually tell us what's really going on in the council office?
I mean, it's been recessed for a couple weeks, so if you something up with half
Alrighty.
I'll be back in just a second.
I don't have any speaker cards. Does anybody have public comments? Mr. Kuzmin. Oh, okay. You know, our secretary's not here, so just hang on, man. You're next.
Oh, let Glenn go first. This wasn't my. I gotta make sure I don't.
Except I'm further away from my notes. Glenn Bailey, a couple of items. Wearing, I'm not sure which hat tonight, but I'll just start off. First of all, I was here 2 months ago and made comments regarding the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, which I know your Planning and Land Use Committee voted to recommend membership, and you had indicated that it was not included on that agenda, it'd be on your next agenda. I wasn't at that meeting.
They are going to revisit that, I think.
Okay, so nobody has communicated. I sent an email to you, and then I sent it to the whole board. Nobody responded to me at all. And we've got other people who are taking their time who've come. And so I think it'd be respectful if people would respond and let us know what's going on.
Okay.
We're trying to get, this neighbor council and one of the last two for CD12 to complete this process. So at this point, just for our time as well, just a yes or a no. You know, yes, we'll work with you. No, you're not interested, and we'll move on. We've got the whole valley that we're working on. So, but the main thing is when I send an email, I would appreciate a reply from somebody who's responsible in that area. The other thing, so wearing my alliance hat with neighborhood councils, I just sent an email out a few hours ago regarding the DWP Customer Bill of Rights that came up this morning, and I hope you'll take a look at that email. I hope that, I realize you're meeting tonight and not for another month, but maybe through Sid, through your committee, if you have any input on that, you can do so as individuals or as a committee. It's scheduled to come back to DWP in 2 weeks. However, sometimes these things linger on and get further extended. But I know that there's a lot of stakeholders that have had problems with DWP, billing, service, etc. And it'd be make sure it'd be important that those are addressed in the Bill of Rights. The other, just closing up, the other two things that we want to make sure that all the neighbor councils in the valley at least attempt to do is to complete the full slate of liaison positions that are being coordinated with various different departments. So you've had the homeless liaison position out there for a while. You've also had animal services since a year ago, September, but that's not been pushed. And then last month, they announced the film liaison for filming in LA, and also for the purposeful aging liaison. And all three of those, homelessness had a citywide meeting in November Valley a couple weeks ago. The other three, animal services, film, and purposeful aging, are all having town hall meetings for the first time, as it turns out, this month. They are all downtown. They're in your the weekly newsletter. It's also in the monthly profile that you should receive tonight or very soon, later tonight. I have the dates with me. I won't take your time right now, but if you please look at your monthly profile, those are all listed on there. And even if you don't have an official liaison appointed, perhaps as president, you could see who's interested in those subjects and make sure you have a representative there.
Yes, Skylar is for our homeless liaison.
Okay, all right. The other three are the ones coming up most immediately, but I have an informal list for the homeless liaison for the Valley because it was a topic of Valley Alliance last month, so I'll add you to my list there. For the other three, though, if you could maybe,
I made a note of it.
okay, and then maybe formally it can be ratified at your next meeting.
And
Okay.
if anybody on the board wants to volunteer for that, please see me at the meeting. Yes, sir, Mr. Kuzmin.
Hi everyone, I'm William Kuzmin. I want to welcome everyone to 2017 because I know it's going to be a great year for Granada Hills and our community. One of the things that I've been doing for the last couple of months is learning about the needs of our people without addresses that live here in Granada Hills and Northridge. You know, I've lived here most of my life here in the Valley and the last 27 years in Granada Hills. And these people, their population is growing, as I mentioned in my question earlier to Mr. Englander. And one of the things I've noticed by conversations I've seen on various social sites is that there seems to be a misunderstanding. Now, Mr. Englander touched on it a little bit a minute ago, but I think he overemphasized the ones that are drug addicts and alcoholics. I've been out there meeting them for the last 2 months. I've met over 75 of these people within 5 miles of here. Their issues vary. I really didn't meet one that was a drug addict or an alcoholic, surprisingly enough. But what happens is we have different attitudes when we hear different words. I use people without addresses because the other word paints an image. If I said to you, what do you think about somebody with Down syndrome? You'd kind of go, aw. And if I said to you, what do you think about somebody with autism, an autistic child, for example? You kind of go, aw. And then when I ask you, well, let's think about somebody with schizophrenia. Faces change. And if I say manic depressive, it's like, ooh, how about bipolar? See, all of these are mental illnesses, and this is one of the topics that was discussed at the housing forum I was at, where the chief of staff for the LA County Department of Mental Health was at, talking about this issue and the need for houses and services for these people. I've identified the local agencies that are giving the services, but what we need to realize is that most schizophrenics, if they're violent, commit the violence against themselves. Now, by the way, I did major in psychology in school, so I'm not talking from just anywhere. And I work with schizophrenics and autistics. Autistics have more of a propensity to be violent against another person than a schizophrenic. So what I'm trying to say is keep an open mind when you think about our people without addresses today. Thank you for listening and have a great year, everyone.
Sorry, folks, since the upgrade on the iPhone, I couldn't figure out how to turn it on. They upgraded it right out of my abilities. Thank you, William. Good to see you back. Motion, can I get a motion to approve the December minutes? Ryan moves. Second. Saw somebody Brock. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 13, 14, okay. Moving on. It is my great pleasure to nominate.
Mike,
Yes.
how about number 4?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill, I'm very sorry. Emergency preparedness. I'm sorry.
Well, okay. Anyway, as you know, every month we have this. This month, we're not anticipating, but we have had some rain, so I've got emergency ponchos for everybody, so please take one, put it in your car kit, pet kit, house kit, pocket, purse, wherever it fits. And it can fit pretty well, because it's one of those things like a map, once you unfold, you can't get it back in. So be aware of that. Also, there are some flyers on the table to talk about our upcoming CERT class, which will start this Thursday, 1 to 3:30 at Norwood Country Club. If you have any questions, the flyers, see me if you have any, might be interested in it. You can miss the first one because you can make it up at a couple of other classes in the north end of the valley that are, we got one starting next Monday, I believe it is, in Sherman Oaks, and one that is, or maybe that's the one out at Charter High School. We have one starting there as well. But cert-la.com, you can see them all, and it's real easy to make them up. So if anybody might be interested, take a flyer home and see that you get it. Thank you all that have brought cans and food for our homeless. Appreciate that. And I do want to make one comment about our bottles and can recycling. It's bottles and cans recycling. Cans and bottles. I know we all want to recycle everything, but please don't put your forks and your dirty plates and your gum wrappers in there. They go somewhere else. So appreciate that.
Thank you, Bill.
That's right there.
Moving along. We have 2 vacant district 3 seats. One has not run 60 days yet, however, the other one's run almost 4 months. And it's my great pleasure to nominate Kyle M. Ellis to that seat. You've all, anybody that was here at the last meeting, Kyle was nice enough to craft some good wording for us on some motions, and has also been invaluable in some of the other meetings we've been to on the Woodley San Fernando Mission project. So we would like to make a motion to appoint Kyle M. Ellis to fill one of the vacated District 3 seats. Does anybody have any questions for Kyle or any comments? Yes, Bill.
I know you set a good example by being here for several of our meetings, but I just want to get that commitment that says, yes, you can be here for every meeting barring any unknown or unforeseen circumstances.
Yes, I will be here for every meeting, barring any unknown or unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess the other question that Mike might ask is, which committees would you like to be on?
He's already in line for planning and land use, and so I believe that. You said that, right?
Whichever ones I can physically attend.
Good deal. All right. Yes. Okay, well, it's a motion from the executive committee, so it does need a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Grab a seat. All right. Board of Ranch people are not here. Brian?
Let me distribute these in.
Here.
Make one back.
When you get the packet, you'll see that there are 3 different items. And if there's anybody that wants a copy, you may have it. This is their monthly report. The front page is just a summary to explain where we are in gross numbers, and that's all. It also ties to the 42,000 so that you can see that. The blue sheet, the second page, is two-sided, and it is the what's called an MER, and the last page is two-sided, and it goes through the second quarter, and it also ties to the MER and the summary in the front. If you have any questions, fire away.
Hearing none? That's okay. You want 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Brian, do you have anything else while they're reading?
Only to explain the analysis, to say that what I'm doing here is trying to keep everyone informed of how much disposable income item funds are currently available. We were asking the question, how much can we spend on this project? And I wanted to make sure that we had a good understanding of how many commitments we had, as opposed to just budget line items.
This is you will take that question.
Yes. Sid.
Push up, Sid.
Thanks. Just to follow up, where in the budget would that proposed money for the project be?
As the budget was originally laid out, it would have to be moved from location to location in the budget. It is just the remainder of what has not been spent in various categories.
So we create a special place for it?
Well, we haven't yet, but if that comes up, we would then have to move funds from one category to another.
And we would probably put it into outreach and pay it out of outreach. Yeah, Bill.
Our project says planning and land use.
Okay, are we ready? All right, Brian, go ahead.
Bill.
The cert kits, did they get on this version?
They're still in the same category they used to be. We haven't put anything in for it, have we? I don't remember any dollars specific. Oh, okay, then I missed that, but we can pull that out of the total that's available.
I mean, the 300.
You know, in 300, we've got 2,000 for community improvements, et cetera. That'd be an easy move from, you know, line 28 to line 25. It stays within the 300, so we don't have to bother done with that. The other thing, which I think probably come out of operations, was that $100 for the lights, you know, safety lights for the office.
Yeah, the invoice that I just got.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Just got it too. So, all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yes.
Could you clarify? I think I understand, but I just want to make absolutely sure. that the total available budget as of today, after setting aside things like the rent through June and so on, the total available funds are $27,000 minus the $1,500 correction, so about $25,000.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any more? Kyle?
Are there any other anticipated expenses the next several months that we should budget for?
Everything that we have planned for in the budget is an anticipated expense. However, we would have to make a judgment call as to whether it's going to be incurred or not based on how this project funding goes along.
Yes, we have one coming up. Valley Disaster Preparedness Fair. They don't see on here.
I don't think it's, number one, I agree, I don't think we voted on it, but I think
Yeah, everybody asking about upcoming expenses. It's an annual one. We've done it every year. So.
Right, exactly. But as it is voted on and approved, it will become part of a commitment. All right? Then we will vote.
You want to call the names and all right?
Just hold on. Okay. All right. Michael.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes.
Oscar.
Yes.
Ralph.
Yes.
Amanda. Ray.
Yes.
Skylar. Jan. Andres.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Dave.
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
Sid.
Yes.
Raheem.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Point of order is announcement. We received a new member who couldn't vote, so it has to be.
One abstention.
It has to be noted.
No, it's not abstention. It's ineligible.
No.
He's ineligible at the moment.
Did you get all your training done or not?
No.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to be noted, that was all.
Yeah, no, it's good, it's good. Alrighty? Brian, anything else?
No, not at this time.
Agnes and Jan?
Jan, shall
Alright.
I'd like to take
First of all, before you even start, I just want to thank you so much. I know you get tired of hearing it, all right? But you have put in so much time and effort in your committee on this project. I can never thank you enough.
Thank you. Undeserved, but thank you. Anyway, since we just talked budgets, with Mike's approval, I'd like to take these motions out of order and go to number 3 under C, planning and land use, because this directly impacts the budget and what we've been talking about. So the big issue in planning and land use right now is the development, the proposed development of 440 apartment units. As you know, the community is, with the exception of one, Mr. Kuzmin, everybody else seems to be pretty set against the project as currently proposed. In order to fight it from a procedural standpoint, according to what is and is not allowed by right and what could be argued for it, we need a land use consultant. You've already heard all of that before. We interviewed a couple and settled on one very good one. His name is Mark Sellers, and he's with, I forgot the name of the firm, Titus, Jackson Titus. And for that, we need an approval for additional budget not to exceed a total of $15,000.
What was the name of the firm again?
Jackson Titus. It's on the agenda in the motion, as part of the motion. As you know, the neighborhood council already voted $3,000, so the anticipated additional would be $12,000. We've heard that as a ballpark estimate from 2 different firms that we interviewed, so that is likely the sort of outer edge, barring any sort of really unanticipated things for what we need to spend. There is a contract that's been drawn up with this firm, but it is currently, as you know, the neighborhood council cannot execute a contract without the approval of Dunn. And as far as I know, it's in Dunn's hands at the moment.
It is on Jeff Brill's desk at this moment.
So we need the approval of the council in order to sign the contract. We also need the approval of Dunn, which is in process to proceed. There is more than a little sense of urgency with this because of many delays that have happened over the last couple of months.
I will be, as soon as we approve this, and I will get a copy of the vote sheet from Brian and email it to Jeff tomorrow, so that he knows that we've dotted all the i's and crossed the t's.
And also, Brian, for your information, don't forget the $1,500 that was approved for outreach for this project as well. So that's already been approved. So right now, what this motion asks for is an approval for an additional $12,000, so that the total budget with the land use consultant would not exceed $15,000.
Did you have a question, William?
If this is this public comment period on something?
If you have a question about what you were talking about.
This is an agenda item, so it's not public comment at the moment.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
But I will answer questions first from the board. Mike, do you want to take questions?